Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Thursday. It's going to be a little bit different today. I'm here in South Dakota with my mentor, Dan Smith. And so I wanted to introduce everybody to Dan as well. It's always great to see him. It's been through the whole pandemic. I've been able to speak with him, but not see him. So it's wonderful to be here with Dan and his wife, Nancy. It's been fantastic. And please go ahead and you can ask Dan questions. And when you're done asking questions, then we will just be done until next week. There won't be a presentation tomorrow. There's no artists available. So we will be meeting again on Thursday. And with that, Dan, this is Dan Smith, the founder of Daniel Smith, my mentor. It's wonderful to be here with them. Dan, welcome. I know you're upstairs, but welcome.
Hey.
So if
Thanks,
you have
Jeff.
questions for Dan, you're very welcome. If you have questions for Dan, please ask him. He was just telling us all about the early days and the formation of the company and what he went through. I know Anna Marie just asked a question about what it's like for an artist to develop a company. So Dan will kind of touch on that a little bit. And with that, Dan, why don't we just go ahead and give a brief introduction, if you will, about yourself, your career in art, and then business.
Boy,
It's a lot.
I was born in 1946 and lived in a little town in Michigan, Portland, Michigan, which is between Lansing and Grand Rapids. And my parents had a hardware store in this small town, and I had a brother who was 3 years older than me who passed away from leukemia when he was 10 and I was 7. So we sold the farm to pay medical bills, which my parents absolutely, that was a lesson in that. They never complained one bit about that. And we moved to town and lived in a rental house, and my dad continued to run his hardware store, which there were 4 hardware stores in this little town. And his revenue was greater than the other 3 combined because he gave great customer service and he knew his product. It was not uncommon at all for me once or twice a week at 7 at night or 9 at night or something, somebody would call up and say, can I get into the store? I need this and that. My pipes broke or something. And my dad would give me the keys and I'd go open the store and go get the stuff for the people. So I grew up in a business environment. And in the 10th grade, I thought that I'd like to go to a prep school for the last 2 years of high school. I did that. I went to a boarding school in northern Michigan called Leelanau School, and that was really a great boost to my education. I learned a lot there. I had really great teachers and went to a little 4-year college and got a degree. I was a philosophy major. I really was a philosophy major and art major, which are, pretty much, it's hard to do much with those in the world economically. But I moved to Seattle out of college, and like I was saying earlier, that in 1970, when I moved there, Seattle was in it was a depression. There was I think the official unemployment rate was 17.5%. It was nothing like it since the Great Depression. But I was able to get a job in a couple of days because I was a printer. It wasn't a very good job. I was working at the university in a print shop, but I paid enough to pay the rent and pay the bills. And I saved money and bought a lithographic hand press and had a studio in my apartment, and was in there for about 3 or 4 years. And about the end of those 3 or 4 years, I'd saved some money, and I bought a HUD repo house, which is a government repossessed house. And it was pretty much a wreck, but I'm pretty handy, and I fixed all the broken windows and painted everything and replaced the pipes and did all those things. And as times went on, I realized that if I didn't want to keep doing what I was going to do the rest of my life, I needed to change what I was doing. And first thing I changed was I went from working at the university where, the wages were pretty meager to going into a regular printing company, and my wages doubled, and I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. And I did that for quite a few years. I had a boss who I liked a lot, and he liked me. The boss was the owner of the company, he and his wife. As a matter of fact, ultimately along the way, I ended up moving next door to him, not because I was close to him necessarily, but because it was on the beach and the house became available. And they called me up and they said, "You better come down and look at this house." And I did, and I bought it. But I consider all these things to be acts of good fortune. But the business, I outgrew the gas station, or the basement, and moved to a little one-stall gas station. Was there for 2 years. We allowed the business to grow. In the 2 years, I outgrew that, and I bought another building that was maybe 2.5, 3 times as big, and was there for only maybe 2 years. And at that point, we moved down to First Avenue South, where we are now in Seattle. And it's just I just had a lot of good fortune. I don't believe in luck. I just believe that I had good fortune, and I had some very dedicated employees like John. People who worked for the company believed in our vision of the products that we make. I saw no reason to make products that were like other people's in terms of where they cut corners. So we didn't, and we don't. But I think after a number of years, I was out of gas, and I handed the management of the company over to Bill Crumbaker, and Bill was CEO for not very long, 2 or 3 years, and he got cancer. And what happened there was kind of interesting. While Bill would go off for a week for cancer treatment and then come back for a week, he put one of his department heads in charge of running the company for a week. And that week, and he told me when I come back, he said, all the managers leave me a pile of stuff on my desk to take care of. He said, when John runs the business, I come back and there's nothing on my desk. And he said, not only that, it's all been done correctly. And so long story short, that's sort of how the door opened for John to buy the company, because he's an extremely capable person and a very smart person. And so that's how John ended up with the company. I think my time was important to set the direction of the company, but I think it was important for me to get out too. It wasn't the getting out was without pain. It was painful. I used to drive Bill crazy when he was running the company. If I was gone, I'd call him all the time and don't forget to do this and don't forget to do that. And finally, he just said, stop calling me. But yeah, John has had the company since then, and John and I made a deal, and he's bought the company, and I'm extremely proud of what he's done. I'm extremely proud of what the company became. I think we're the company that our competitors probably hate the most, because we're good, and that's just a fact. And they know we're good, and our customers know we're good. And I'm extremely grateful for the good fortune that I've had, and it isn't financial good fortune. I mean, I've had that too, but it's more than that. It's doing something that I'm really confident leaves the world in much better shape than it did before. I mean, I think that one of the most important things in my life, and I hope in many people's lives is beauty in all its different forms, and nature and man-made things, and all kinds of forms. Beauty is one of the things, maybe the biggest thing in my life that relieves the burdens and pressures of life. And my wife and I live in a place in the country in South Dakota, and we have all kinds of beautiful birds here, and deer every day, and we've had bobcats sleep in our doorway, and we've caught mountain lions on our game cam, and we just have lots of nature here. And I think that those things are, at least for us, that they're essential to our well-being. So I think of Daniel Smith as part of the contribution of beauty to the world, and I'm really proud of how John has done. He's just he's taken this company in directions that I'm about as cyber as a block of wood, and he's a very capable in the realm of electronic media and all that. And but that's my story, and I don't think there's a whole lot more to add. But if you have questions, I'd sure give it a try. So thank you.
Thank you.
John, sorry, Daniel.
Yes.
It's Ian here. Did you start with watercolors as your base company?
No, I started making ink for artists, printmakers, etchers, lithographers, engravers, woodblock printers.
Yeah.
The first inks I made were all black. I made different blacks. And it was, I had $1,300, and the equipment I had was very old and very tired, but I could make it work. And it took me a few years to get the equipment and the money to do the things that we ultimately have done. And John has expanded on those greatly. But I didn't have hardly any money. And but I think those things were necessary to learn the craft. And I think in the end, I'm grateful for how the whole thing started. I know you hear stories about people who want to start businesses, and they go to their grandfather who's got a lot of money, gives them a bunch of money, and they spend it all and nothing happened. And I think in my case, it was like every penny, nickel, and dime had to be counted. And I think that benefited us to be wise about, how we do things. And, it took us a lot of years to have we always paid our bills, but by no means were we, a wealthy company in a monetary sense. But I think that, over the years, we've continued to grow and expand in our offerings. And I think that John and his, the crew in manufacturing have, I don't think anybody in the world is as good as we are. Maybe there's some that are as good, but I just think that we and John puts quality first, no matter what. And I think that he's excited by this, and I'm excited by this. And I think the majority of employees in our company are excited about what we do, because I think it's such a, I feel fortunate to be able to do these things so that artists can benefit. One of the things I feel really, really pleased about is how much time and energy, and I guess money, we've spent over the years educating our customers, because these materials are are pretty sophisticated. And I think that we make materials that are very basic. We don't make materials that, where we modify them and one of the realities of working with various pigments is that every pigment has characteristics, and you can add things so that they have similar characteristics, but you change the nature of what it is. And I think it's like somebody who, say a baker, who every cake they make is the same except for the frosting. Well, I think that what we do is we're not afraid to offer things to our customers. I mean, like the mineral pigments, there's no, I guess some of the companies in the world are knocking us off a little bit, but that's stuff that we developed. And I, my vision of that is I think that people since, the beginning of time have had this interest, attraction, and love of beauty. And I think our company participates in that love of beauty. And so, I wouldn't really be interested in doing this business if I was just producing the usual run of the mill stuff. I think that what we do is so exciting and so somehow down deep in every human being is this important sense of beauty. And I think it gets covered up by all kinds of behaviors and thinking or lack of thinking. And so that's the vision that I had. And
So
I'm
Dan,
really, yeah.
the company's always, I know for the last 33 years I've been there's always been called Daniel Smith. When you started it, was it also called Daniel Smith?
Yeah, I didn't know what else to call it. I mean, I wouldn't, yeah. I mean, and my dad, our hardware store was Smith Hardware. And he always said, put your name on it. If you stand for it, put your name on it, I mean, and so I did. But I didn't have any other ideas, but I think it's, and then I think if you're going to put your name on it, you better, by God, stand behind it. I mean, it's not ABC Paint Company. I mean, it could be, but I think it's a way of saying, I confirm this action. I confirm this process. I confirm what we do. And I do, John, I'm really, for the benefit of, I don't know, the people who are listening, the people who, you work with, share with, when it came time to leave the company, it was logical to me that John should have it. Now, to be honest, it never occurred to me to start calling up competitors and say, would you want to buy it? I'd much rather sell to John because I knew who he was and I knew what he was about. I'm not saying I don't like money. I like money. I'm not crazy about it, but I like money. I like having enough money. But what I really care about is the company, and I care about what we do, and I think what we do is just damned important. And because I think it's really important for artists to get their hands on things that increase their ability to express themselves and increase their ability to create beauty. I'm absolutely convinced that maybe one thing that's lacking in this world is beauty in all its forms, and not just physical beauty, but spiritual beauty, mental beauty. I mean, I have to have some measure of idealism in my life, or I think I'd go nuts. So, and I think that we have successfully done something that can't be done if it's not done with a commitment, with that commitment in mind. I mean, I can't quote, optimize. I don't know.
So Dan, one thing so two people asked a question, Patricia, I'll answer that question. Will the Daniel Smith store reopen? Is it used for the paint production? No, it won't open, Patricia. We have left all types of, we'll no longer retail or catalog or do web. We're totally into manufacturing, and that was a promise I made to all of the distributors and retailers that carry our product. They have been wonderful to us and for us, and we do everything to support local retail stores and the people that carry Daniel Smith. And then George Politis out of Greece, George is wonderful. He says, Dan, did some of the recognition in the first years come from overseas? And I know you have a story about that.
I do.
Yeah.
What is
I
it?
think somebody was talking about Daniel Smith. Are you the Daniel Smith? They heard overseas and in New York about an ink. And they asked you, are you the same Dan Smith? And they said, yeah. You said, yes, I'm that Dan Smith. It was kind of the thing that you always told me is you're never the main person. You're never you're never the person in your own land. You have to go outside to be recognized.
You can't be a prophet in your own kingdom.
You're not a prophet in your own land. And I think some of that came from overseas and some of that came from New York. Maybe you can touch on that a little bit. If not, I don't recall what you're talking about, John. In New York, I remember that when you had, I believe it was the gas station, or maybe the first store after that, somebody had heard about this brand called Daniel Smith. They heard it from a printer in New York or overseas, and they saw the sign. They knocked and they said, "Are you the same person that makes this product?" And yeah, you were the person that made that product. I think it's before you had the retail store.
Okay, I don't remember it. I don't remember it. I don't know. That might have been on Nickerson, or it might have been at the gas station. But yeah, it's been neat how the business has grown, and you've taken in a direction where it's grown a lot. And but yeah, I think when you make good stuff, when you're fair in your pricing, artists are passionate about what they do. It matters to them a lot, and that's not true of everything in life. I buy a bag of flour, it's a bag of flour. I don't get passionate about a bag of flour, but
so the interesting thing today, when I look at this screen of everybody, I have the two sets of people that have impacted me the most. I have you as my mentor, and I have all the artists watching, because I think it's both through you and the time I've spent with you and the time that I spent with them that really allows me to make a better product. I hear what would make the art for the artist more meaningful. And that really does a lot. I think the one thing I learned from you is you need to always listen to your customer. In manufacturing, we can make anything, truly anything, but it makes no sense to make it if it's not going to benefit the person that's your customer. And I heard that over and over from you for decades, both with your dad and his hardware store and what you learned from him. And I learned from you and him. And I learned so much from the artists and the information and energy that they give me. So I wanted to thank all of you. I get to thank all of you at one time. So Dan is somebody I call at least 3 times a year. He is someone I can share ideas with. It was both Dan and I that came up with the Primatech. We went back and forth. We both had passions about the American Indians and what they did and do with art. So it's been really wonderful. So with that, I know you have lots of questions. Does anybody else have a specific question that Dan can answer?
I think Scott has, or Scott Stevenson.
Hey, John.
Okay,
Hi, Dan.
Hello, Scott.
Dan, first of all, just thank you so much for being with us today. It's a real treat. I've had the honor of working with John for 6 years now, and it's been a lot of fun, and I just can't tell you uh, how much of a thrill it is to kind of meet you. And one of the big questions that I've always found interesting is that we have a very different way of taking these beautiful minerals and making them into pigment. How long did it take to come up with this process? Because it's so unusual and very contrary to the way that I think most people would think about how to take something like mineral and make it small enough to be able to use for pigment.
Well, first of all, a mineral, you can crush minerals, but it's really hard to break them apart so they refract light. I mean, it's easy to make mush, but it's hard to break them so that they refract light and they maintain their color. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I mean, you can kind of look at a mineral that's a crystalline structure. It's easy to turn that into flour, and it has nothing. So, John had a big part of this is developing the processes of breaking those apart so they refract light and color, and yet are a particle size that's small enough that you can use it in painting. And there's a lot of people in the company that Ron Harmon, who has been with us over 30 years. He's works in the manufacturing end and one of the formulators, and he's been a hardworking, faithful employee all these years, and we just keep developing proprietary technologies. And I don't think there's anything about it that's secretive. It's private, but the point is we had to try these things, and I mean, I don't think we've ever had the motivation of how much money can we make and how fast can we make it. We've had some good years, we've had some not good years financially, we had some hard times, but I think that we've maintained our vision, which is, why do this if we're not going to do it well? I mean, there's other ways to make a living. But I think that we wanted to do this, and I'll say it again. I couldn't be more proud of what John and Ron Harmon and I don't know, over the years, probably a couple hundred employees. Have some have come and stayed, some have gone, but a lot of them made contributions, and John has been great because John understands that vision, and he's taken it further. And I feel like I'm getting old, and I'm a has-been in a sense, but this chapter of my life, I couldn't be prouder. And I'm absolutely 100% sure that the right guy's running the ship. And my concern is, after John, who's it going to be? And I hope it's somebody that has the same love of what this whole thing is about. Because I think it's, I think that making art, in many cases, not in all cases, but in many cases, is pretty much a holy endeavor with an H. I think it's a very, I don't know where humans get much more intimate than if they really are painting from their heart. And I think that that's to be respected. And if we can help people do that, I'm thrilled to do it. And I'm not trying to sound highfalutin, but I think that we're good. But I think I have to say this, that John took the company well beyond where I left it. And he's done an absolutely splendid job, because he's as committed, if not more, to this than I am. And I think it's worked out really, really well. And, I hope that the future for the company remains along the same track that it is. But, we can only do so much in that regard too. So, but I that it seems to me that our customers are really great customers and great friends. And I'm really, really, really pleased to have that. That you don't see that very often in business. And plus, let's face it. I mean, most of us, we go to the store and buy dog food. We're buying dog food. You go to the art supply store and you buy paint. That's a whole different level. I love my dog, love my cats, but the point is that I think this is really a really special endeavor. I just think it's a high thing. I'm sounding highfalutin, but I believe it.
No, I think that in a lot of ways, there is not a manufacturer out there today, save maybe one, who has the connection to the artists that Daniel Smith does. And
yeah, that's
it's
John. That's John's.
unequivocal.
Oh, you go
Absolutely. I'm done. Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Scott. So does
Daniel,
anyone else have a question? Ian?
do you have a dock card?
Yeah. Not handy, but I have one. Yeah.
What are your favorite colors? Tell us about them.
I don't have it with me.
All right. Which ones come to your mind that are kind of ones that you like to use?
I haven't painted, not in a number of years. I was a printmaker, and I pretty much stopped doing two-dimensional stuff a few years ago. But I ran out of gas with it in the two-dimensional world, and so I messed around. I built quite a few cars, old cars. A lot of welding and hammering and shaping, and that's kind of where I've gone the last few years. But actually, the last couple of years, I haven't done too much anything. I'm slowing down.
Well, I mean, stuff like that is still creative stuff, isn't it? So, I'm from the offset lithographic printing industry. I used to work in
me
that.
too.
It's
That's where I started. Yeah,
it's a sticky, messy old environment, that. So you have my sympathies, although it's done you well, isn't it?
That's how I supported myself in the early years of the company, working nights as a printer, offset printer.
I mean, I started off as a person who dotted out in the dark room, the plate.
Yeah. I didn't spend any time in the dark room. I just would, hang the plates on the press and print it.
Yeah.
And I always worked nights, so I had my days free, but that's how I supported myself. That's how I built a business, was working nights.
You got to do what you got to do, aren't you?
Yeah.
Especially in a self-employed environment like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one day, I had a boss who, he said, as your business grows, you can work less. And so, I remember, I think the last paycheck I got over 2 weeks, I had something like 12 hours on there. I went to my boss and said, I think it's time to quit. 12 hours in 2 weeks really wasn't, I wasn't doing much for him. So, but he was, I'm really thankful for what he allowed me to do. I was able to transition from one thing to another, and somewhat gradually.
I think my experience of being self-employed is you can work less for others, but you end up working more for yourself. Yeah.
I'm grateful that I had that transition. Yeah.
Very nice.
So,
Daniel, just one more thing. I noticed your second name, your surname, is Smith. do you have any family heritage over in England?
Oh, yeah, they all came from England.
Do you know
Yeah.
whereabouts? I won't be surprised.
don't.
If it
I,
won't be
I
surprised
know
if it were Yorkshire.
we have a portrait of one of our ancestors who was a whaling captain, and he ended up actually no, he wasn't a whaler. He had a ship, and he would sail from England with iron goods like farm equipment, plows and things. He would go to Connecticut, like New Haven. He would offload. He would sell those. He would buy grain. He would go down to the Caribbean. He would sell the grain, buy rum, go to England, sell the rum, buy the farm goods. He made that three-way trade. That was a common trade for traders at that time. And he had a ship, and he became a wealthy guy. There's a house in New Haven, Connecticut named after him, the Laban Smith House. It's right next to the Yale campus and Yale University campus. But I think that my father was entrepreneurial, and we had like I said, we had a hardware store, and then later we had a small lumber yard, and I learned all that stuff from my father, but how to treat customers and how to do things the right way. And he was a remarkably good businessman. And, he was one of those guys that there were 4 hardware stores in town, and his gross was equal to the other 3. Everybody wanted to buy from him. He was just good. And he knew his product. And if something didn't go right, he'd square it with people. He wasn't, that's your tough luck, it never went that way. I think that's the same thing with Daniel Smith. I think our customer service has always been appreciated by our customers, because we make an effort to keep things square with our customers.
So
Sorry, go on.
So Dan, Anna had a question. Anna, did Dan answer kind of your question about kind of starting what it means for an artist to have a business?
Yes, thank you very much. May I ask a follow-up question?
Yes, certainly you can.
I know that for myself professionally, and I also see this for Geo all the time, I just see it, that we're able to do what we do because we have spouses that support us and love us and are supporting us in incredible ways. And I heard you talk about your wife in retirement and enjoying spending time with her. Does she have a part that she played in the story through the building of the business and keeping you going through those years?
We've been married 30 years. So we were married a little later in life. But she's always been very supportive of me. And she respects what I do. And she has a lot of artistic talent and sensibility. We get along very well because we're both stirred by beauty. She's a complete nature nut, and we live in a place here in South Dakota where we're out in the sticks, and we live in a place that's very private, and we have unbelievable amounts of wildlife here. We've had mountain lions come through our place, and bobcats, and we have deer every day, and lots of wild turkeys, and it's just, and we feed birds, and we just have hundreds of birds and all kinds of we get some things through here that are very unusual, and that's the kind of stuff that stirs us. And I think that I think beauty in all its form, nature, whether it's created beauty by us humans, I think all that's essential to have a proper human spirit. I believe in a spiritual hierarchy. I mean, I'm very stirred you know, my greatest happiness in life is when I'm seeing, you know, the creation of the world. I mean, it's just, I get very stirred by, you know, seeing a mama deer come into our yard with a couple of fawns, you know, makes me very happy. And I'm married to someone who's like that too. So,
Dan.
Yes.
Daniel? Oh, hi, John. Yes, it's just maybe a comment. I feel that your company, what stand out really is that it's a company with a soul. That's what comes through. And
Yes.
also, you know, it's just not only materialistic. It's not just the objects. It's not just how you make the color, which is very, very good. But there is much more to that. What led you to make this color? It's this spiritual part, I think, that permeates through everything you do. And you call it beauty, and it is beauty. And sometimes I feel that we are too disconnected with what we really are. And this, for me, these paints are really help you to connect through art or through even visualizing. If you are not an artist, you can, this coloring has an impact on you. So that's, I think that's a very good way to spread the goodness in the world. And
I think
starting, sorry?
No, go ahead, please.
No, and starting a small business is like this passion. I've seen it in other small businesses, like, for example, the family businesses like Skoda. You know, it's the love of one person, maybe. In this case, maybe it was your father that was transmitted to you. And it, when the business is like part of life, and then you transmit this love and this passion, and then because you care more for others than you care for yourself, and that is what makes it all, gives it all a meaning. That's my feeling. I think that's what I understand from what you are saying, and it makes total sense to me. And I thank you very much for that.
Oh, thank you.
yeah, thank you.
I think what Dan learned from his father, what I learned from Dan is it's about other people. If you want to last, it's really about the people that you serve, and are you involving them into the process? And I think that's wonderful on the Thursdays and Fridays, and going and meeting artists at different parts in the world and asking questions for them to also take part in that process. I think it just makes not only a better product, it just makes a better world. So I'm so happy for be associated with Dan, and thank you all very, very much for joining us today. Thank you very much, Angela, and everybody. It's great to see you all.
Thank
Bye-bye,
you. We're very honored.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Love
Nice
that.
meeting you.